The American dream. A white picket fence, an acre of land. How about $80,000 in student debt? A mortgage, car payments, and not enough time to do the things that you love. Many people are asking themselves there has to be a better way. They're trying to find their place in the world. We're all trying to find our home, and how much home do we really need? Well, we're here to find out. This is Wanderlost. A recent alternative to all that excess? Tiny homes. Houses that range from 500 square feet down to nothing more than a large walk-in closet. We decided to stay in a tiny house for 3 days and see if simplifying our lives truly made us happier people, and if this is a viable option for everyone.
Last night there were 5 of us sleeping in this loft. There was like 4 of us laying like across, and then Chris was kind of like at the foot of the bed, laying in the other direction. My legs were in the air all night. This is not a place for someone to be when you're 6'4".
I don't think there's a freezer, so I don't know if you can freeze anything.
Peeing in the toilet was a blast. No.
On day 2, we were all wondering how the tiny house movement had become as popular as it had. So we headed out of our forest hideaway and into the city, to the Boston Architectural College. We were going to talk to Dak Kopek, a professor of architecture who has a PhD in environmental psychology. He's written books on environmental design, sustainability, health, and how these structures affect our mood and personality. And he was the perfect person to talk to find out how the tiny house movement got started, and who stands to benefit the most from it.
People are often going to gravitate towards their nature, and people's nature is to have greater sense of privacy, greater sense of personal space, greater sense of territoriality. Since we've been losing wealth, and there's all kinds of studies out there and projections that are showing the average American is losing wealth, we're starting to see a reconceptualization of some of the old ways. And I think that if we can start to downsize in the amount of bills that I get, so if I don't have to have a car payment, well, if I get rid of a car, I get rid of car payments, I get rid of insurance, I get rid of registration, I get rid of my gas, I get rid of the having to park it. I mean, those are 5 bills I've just gotten rid of by getting rid of the car. What some of us who are more concentrated in the human aspect to it are concerned about is, will these homes be used for low-income housing? I don't think that they're appropriate for a single mother who's got 2 children, and that's the definition of low income. So, a college student who has gained, $80,000 in student debt and doesn't have a whole lot of money is a different form of low income. And so, are there any zoning laws that are put into place to not force inhumane living conditions upon those people who have the least amount of power in society?
There's definitely a sense of peacefulness here, especially in the area and in the house. I don't have service here. I don't know if that would be true for everyone, but it was kind of nice being like, oh, okay, there goes my phone.
It's good that it forces you to get out of your house and sort of pare down your belongings.
Everything is constantly changing and rejuvenating.
Besides the fact that it's an amazing thing financially, economically, it kind of gets just at the root of, do you really need everything that you have?
Best thing about living in a tiny house is that it forces you out into the world. It forces social interaction, and it forces you to reevaluate who you are.
how am I going to behave within those environments? Are there certain things within those environments that are causing me to behave a certain way? Or are there certain things within those environments that are basically magnifying how I'm feeling?
By day 3, we were all starting to feel the effects of simplifying our lives. We felt at peace, happier even. We were more connected with the world and with each other. We wanted to know why we were feeling this way. So we went to go talk to Joan Amaral, a Buddhist priest and teacher of Zen meditation. Maybe she could shed a little light on how simplifying our lives can do us a world of good.
But I just love the phrase tiny homes. It's so sweet. It just makes my heart sing that someone is valuing something tiny, in this world. What's rewarding to me is being so pleasantly kind of surprised at how people, especially Americans, are willing to go into what's essentially a consumption, production-free zone. Whoa! And just sit down, and hit zero. Like just this neutral, this being. Neutral, I don't mean neutral like you don't feel anything. I mean neutral like, this long spine is not getting, not wanting, not, this acquisitiveness, but not averting from, just being with. I really do feel contact with others allows bringing forth the Dharma. You can't make this stuff up on your own. You can't. In our tradition, the Mahayana tradition, the Bodhisattva way, it's about being with people, between solitude and solidarity. And that's how I understand Zen practice. That's how I understand any attempt to acknowledge that we have this body, we have this life, but that doesn't mean that we exist in some vacuum somewhere. How do we find ways to acknowledge the truth that we all impact each other and relax with that? Not have that be another thing that stresses us out,
It was time to go. The 5 of us had shared 300 square feet of space for 3 days, and for 3 days we called that space home. We learned a lot in that short amount of time, but before we left, I wanted to ask everyone what major lesson they took away from the experience. What left the biggest impact on them?
If I had a tiny house, I'd probably get a toilet without restrictions.
And it's gonna be like a very obvious one. It's gonna be a loud one. Like, what do you do? Out of the 5 of us, none of us has pooped.
No one knows, but I pooped.
I think about people, sometimes with big houses, and they're just wandering around like ghosts in their own houses. They're not really homes,
There's a lot of things that aren't being discussed related to the micro apartments or the tiny homes. I think that they do have a place in society. The question is, what's going to be their longevity?
But that sentiment, how a tiny house can affect you, I think you can take with you into your life, and you don't have to live in a tiny house to live like that. And if anything, I'm just glad that tiny homes have brought those facts up again, have caused us to think maybe just filling our lives with material goods isn't the best end to finding happiness, and that there's a lot more to life in terms of happiness than just things. So, whatever kind of house I live in the future, I'm going to take that sentiment with me where I go. So I don't think you need to live in a tiny house to live small, to live modestly.